the AFC South looks very fun next year. Every team has built around their young quarterback. It's going to be really exciting to see how each quarterback plays on their new revamped teams. And I think that the performance of each quarterback is going to greatly impact the way that this division shakes up in the end. So I'm excited for this episode. A lot of my favorite players are in this division. So without further ado, let's get on to the first team. All right, so the first team we have the Houston Texans, led by CJ Stroud, going into his second year. They are the current favorite to win this division, as they were already a playoff winning team last year, which is pretty incredible considering it was CJ Stroud's rookie season, and it was Nico Collins' breakout year, and Tank Dell's rookie season, and Will Anderson's rookie season. So this is a fun young team that we're expecting to only get better as they, play more games in the NFL. Obviously, their big addition this year was Steph Diggs. He got traded from the Vikings or not the Vikings. Sorry, I'm living in 2017. Got traded from the Bills for a second rounder and some, I believe. What this says to me is that the Houston Texans are telling everybody, hey, we are trying to win the Super Bowl this year, because you don't give up a second rounder for a older receiver that has like 1 year left on his contract if you're not trying to win the Super Bowl. So to me, this means that they're gunning for it, and I think this team really has the pieces for it. Like I said, it's just a young team, but all the positions that are very important to winning football, they have young, potentially superstar talent at every position. Quarterback CJ Stroud, wide receiver is Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and now Steph Diggs. O-line, they still have Laramie Tunsil. He's not young, but one of the best O-linemen in football. Edge rushers, Will Anderson, and they just signed Danielle Hunter to replace Jerry Hughes. They have Derek Stingley at corner. Like, all of the biggest positions, they have a very, very good player there, and a lot of those players are on rookie contracts, which is how they're able to get Danielle Hunter and Steph Diggs. So I'm really excited for this team. I don't know if you can tell. CJ Stroud was one of my favorite prospects in his draft. Nico Collins, it had a wonderful breakout year in his third year, going into his fourth now. He's a really good wide receiver. He's really, really good. They also kept Bobby Slowick, who has created a really, really good scheme that plays to a lot of the strengths of the skill position players. I'm a big fan of this team. I legitimately think this team is like in the lower tier of contenders. I think that there is a world where they go to the Super Bowl. And, we've seen Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They made the Super Bowl. Obviously, it took a lot to get there, but it takes a lot every year to get to the Super Bowl. So I am firmly of the belief that this team could make a deep playoff run this year. I just think they have the pieces. And like I said, trading for Steph Diggs, that's a win now move. I don't really have a question about the fit. I think it's like they'll just run all three receivers, and I really don't think it'll be a big deal if Steph Diggs gets a lot of targets or not, because if the team's winning, then they don't have to throw him the ball. And if they're winning without throwing him the ball, then that means everything else is going super, super well. So hey, if he ends up whining about it, it is what it is. I think the big question mark is just the defense. Good young players at edge rusher and corner. It's mostly a matter of everything else meshing, I think. And I think we did see some good stuff from Christian Harris last year in the playoffs. He actually tackled Lamar Jackson a couple times in open space, which is pretty impressive. Haven't seen much of that. So, if that defense can make some plays, I mean, D'Amico Ryans did an incredible job last year. Yeah, if defense can do their thing, this team, I think, can legitimately go to the Super Bowl. And that's kind of my takeaway for this team. It's like, if you have a window to make the Super Bowl, like while you have all these great guys on rookie contracts, on cheap contracts, go get Steph Diggs because you can afford him. Go get Daniel Hunter because you can afford him. So I really like what this team has done in the past couple years. So I'm a fan, and I'm excited to see what they do next year. All right, so the next team we have in this division, who were like one game away from the playoffs last year, with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. We have the Indianapolis Colts, who are now hoping for a full healthy season from Anthony Richardson, another one of my favorite prospects from last year. I'm not really sure what exactly to say about Anthony Richardson other than I think he will be a good quarterback. I just think he does all of the hard stuff already. He has good pocket movement. He avoids sacks because he's very athletic. He knows how to adjust to certain mistakes he makes in game. And he's like pretty inexperienced at football. Like, he has not played a lot of college games. He didn't have a lot, set in his mind. So now he can learn good habits from Shane Steichen, hopefully. And Shane Steichen, good lord. What he did with Gardner Minshew last year needs to be studied because I mean, I know there are Gardner Minshew fans out there, but like that offense was so limited without Anthony Richardson. The rest of this team is also pretty young. I don't really think there's a lot of like old dudes on this team that you're like, they might be gone. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's still there. I mean, he's not young, but I think he's still in his prime, which for a running back is, that's really all you can ask for. And then in the draft, they added, arguably, I said this for Dallas Turner, but Latu, arguably the best defensive player in the draft. He did go before Dallas Turner, so that is something to look out for. Latu, really good edge rusher. The Colts also drafted Adonai Mitchell, who is definitely a project. He definitely has some development for his route running he needs to handle. I fully expect him to be the third wide receiver on this team. I 100% think he can be better than Alec Pierce. But I think Josh Downs and Michael Pittman as a duo for now, before Adonai Mitchell truly develops, I think that'll be good for Anthony Richardson. I'm excited. Like, I really don't know what else to say. Shane Steichen, I just really believe in this guy. I mean, when the Eagles made the Super Bowl, he was the offensive coordinator. Like, he knows what he's doing. So, but it will all depend on Anthony Richardson, as there are some people that will rightfully point to him only having played like 5 games, 6 games. It wasn't a lot of games. So the NFL sample size isn't huge, but I do think he can be good. And if he is good, this team can 100% make the playoffs. If he's really good, this team might win a playoff game. Like, I believe in him. So I'm ready to see what this team can do. I think the thing that's kind of holding me back from being super, super in on this team is the secondary. The secondary isn't great, and that's putting it lightly. I know a lot of Colts fans wanted L'Jarius Sneed because they needed some corner help, and L'Jarius Sneed's just a good player. But, the defense isn't really that great. So, I mean, if they missed the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised. But if they did make the playoffs, I would not be surprised either. My takeaway for this team, some teams just have a type. And the Colts type is super, super athletic people. If you look at a lot of their past draft picks, a lot of them are top tier athletes. Obviously, Anthony Richardson is the most athletic quarterback ever. And if you just go back and look at all the people that they've drafted and look at all the people on their roster, top tier athletes all around. So, just a fun little tidbit of draft info. Some teams they stick to their game plan. All right, the next team we have is the Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Trevor Lawrence, who just signed one of the biggest contracts in NFL history. I believe he's tied with Jordan Love and Joe Burrow in terms of average value per year. So last year for the Jaguars did not really go to plan. The Calvin Ridley experiment, unfortunately, did not pan out, did not work. They couldn't even re-sign him. It was tough for Calvin Ridley. He obviously was coming back from not playing for however long, like 2 years. So year or 2 years, something like that. But I think he was being asked to do a lot of things he is not usually asked to do, which led to him struggling in his new role. But as the Jaguars have moved on, they have added a lot of significant people, I would say. They added 2 receivers, actually 3, but one of them's Devin Duvernay, and he just plays special teams. But Gabe Davis in free agency and Brian Thomas Jr. from the draft. I really like both of these picks. I think Gabe Davis can just be like the what I what has been known as the sacrificial X receiver, which just means that he's the guy that's going to be out there for run blocking. He's going to go deep, keep the safeties honest, but like the plays are really drawn for like the guys underneath, like across the middle or like on the shallow routes, which would be Christian Kirk and potentially Brian Thomas Jr. And I really like Brian Thomas Jr. I think he was a really nice prospect. Like this was a really loaded wide receiver class. Brian Thomas Jr. could have been a top 2, maybe 3 wide receiver in a lot of the past drafts. Like if he was in the 2023 draft, he would have 100% been a top 10 pick. They also got some O-line help, which is very nice. They still have Evan Ingram, who will be another one of those guys that'll be, getting those shallow crossing routes, getting some yak. Travis Etienne is still here. He's still a good running back. Tank Bigsby is still his backup, and they keep saying they want to get Travis Etienne some rest. Let Tank Bigsby be, the short yardage bruiser type guy. On defense, they added a Rick Armstead, which is awesome. They added Ronald Darby. They did need corner help. But yeah, I mean, I just think if this team can, co it's not co this team can have some cohesion, then this team could be pretty good. I mean, last year it was a lot of things going wrong, lots of penalties, like it was a disaster, honestly, for in terms of the offense. And I know people are expecting more out of Trevor Lawrence because he was supposed to be a generational prospect. So I'm curious if this is a year where we finally get the Trevor Lawrence we were promised or whatever, what was expected. And I think this is also a team that can make the playoffs and could win a playoff game. They did win one a couple years ago. I think that if we do get a great Trevor Lawrence, this could 100% be a playoff team. If not, they're probably in about the same boat as they were last year. But, I have more faith. I'm more optimistic about players than a lot of people. I know there's a lot of hating that goes on in sports media and sports culture. I like to give guys a chance, and that's part of my takeaway. It's like sometimes your young quarterback just had really bad development at the start of their career, and that can kind of alter the way that they have to play the game. Like we forget somehow that Trevor Lawrence had to deal with a year of Urban Meyer, like the worst head coach in NFL history. Like that was a really, really, really bad time. Like like I have no idea what that would do to a young quarterback who is in his rookie season and he has to deal with that guy. So like his first year I feel like was almost like a wash. Like, so I want to give Trevor Lawrence a chance. I'm not ready. I'm not going to call him a bust. I think he has underperformed relative to what people expected coming out of college. But I think he has obviously shown that he is a good quarterback. Some people don't even agree with that, but I think he's shown he's a good quarterback, and he still has the potential to be even better. So, oh boy. And the last team in this division, Tennessee Titans, that went absolutely bananas in free agency, adding Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Kenneth Murray Jr. is here. I didn't even know that. I mean, you see I'm wearing a... If you don't even know who that is, Chargers linebacker, Kenneth Murray, did not like that guy. Didn't even know he left. Jamal Adams, L'Jarius Sneed, Mike Vrabel gone. In comes Brian Callahan, offensive coordinator from the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, this is an insane... This is like one of the most interesting teams to talk about because you really can start anywhere. I think the first thing I do want to say is that I have no idea what to expect from Brian Callahan. He was not the play caller in Cincinnati. That was Zach Taylor. So I really don't know what he brings to the table. I know his dad, who's like the best offensive line coach ever. I know he came to the team, And so I'm expecting good things from the O-line. They have two young studs, two first rounders, Skaronski and Latham. And I especially don't know what to expect from Will Levis, potential quarterback of the future. Like, who knows? Like, this is really crazy. So they fully surrounded him with a lot of talent. Let's just try to make Will Levis's life as easy as possible, and then we'll see if he's good. Because he showed some flashes, but I also think he has like Jay Cutler syndrome. And if you don't know what that means, his arm strength is so good that he can make a lot of absurd throws, but his arm strength is so strong that he loses control of some passes. But his highlight passes look incredible because he can make those passes. All this to say, I think that he can have a decent statistical season, maybe, but I'm not as optimistic about him as I am about the other quarterbacks in this division. But like I said, his arm talent is absurd. He can make some really insane throws. Did he just get picked off in the video? I don't know, whatever. But I'm assuming that wasn't him. I don't think that was him. Tyjae Spears is also here. He could end up taking the running back 1 spot on this team. But with all that being said, this team's still not that great. I don't want to say mid, but like, it's just, the team isn't inspiring. Maybe that's just the vibes talking, but like, it just feels like there's a lot of question marks that are pushing people away from saying that this team can be good. But which I think is completely fair. In the best case scenario, where Will Levis is like franchise quarterback, like 100% our franchise quarterback. If he has a season like that, which I guess is in the realm of possibility because, like I said, he did show flashes. Maybe it's like a wild seventh seed wild card. Like, that's really as far as I can go though, because I said the talent, like they signed a lot of people, but we have to see how they mesh together. I think everything should be fine. Like it's just, I don't know what this defense is gonna look like, as I'm not even sure who their defensive coordinator is, to be honest. Denard Wilson, I don't know who this is, I'll be honest. But I mean, like the realistic case is like bottom 5, maybe bottom 7, 8, 10, something like that. But what I do want to say, the takeaway for this team is that if you have a bunch of question marks, it can actually create some optimism, some hope for the fans, for the fan base, just because they're like, hey, we don't know if this guy is going to be a franchise quarterback, but he could be. They're still in like the fun phase of the they're still in the phase where it's like, ooh, new quarterback, young quarterback, let's see what he has. So, the same thing with the head coach, first time head coach, first time play caller. There's optimism. You can just say, we don't know what to expect, but I'm hoping for the best. So, at least they have that going for them. And I'm happy that the Titans fans have something to look forward to. Oh, and they lost Derrick Henry. I didn't even mention it. Derrick Henry's gone, but I mean, like, it was about time, to be honest. I mean, he was just sitting on this team for a while, and, he had obviously some incredible seasons, but it's time to go. They were already, like, decreasing his workload last year because he is 30 years old now. This is a really exciting division because everyone's young. They'll have varying levels of, like, success in the league. So I'm just really, really curious to see how these quarterbacks match up for next year and potentially the next, like, 5, maybe 10 years. Like, if these are all franchise quarterbacks, this is going to be one of the sickest rivalries to watch for a long time. If I talked about one of your favorite teams, leave a comment. Tell me what your expectations are for your team. Let me know what you think of the other quarterbacks in your division, because I know y'all like talking trash about each other's quarterbacks. So leave that in the comments. Leave a like. Hit subscribe. If you've missed any of the other divisional previews that I've done, they're all in a playlist on the channel. There'll be an end card with it. But yeah, I think by this point, there's 2 or 3 more divisions left. So hit subscribe for that. Stay tuned. Really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Yeah, peace out.